Suzie, I've got your swing analysis, bunch of videos that I pulled up here. I'll explain all of them, but obviously I have your different views here. Let me just kind of get this back to the beginning. Your views here off to the left. And then I have 3 different instances of recordings from just 3 of the LPGA Tour's top golfers. I think it's a really good comparison to see some of what you're doing compared to them and other things that we need to work on. But all in all, I want to start by first of all thanking you for coming to the class. Appreciate you attending. I think you came to every single one, so I greatly appreciate that. And I really enjoyed getting to know you over these last 5 weeks. I really hope this serves of great value to you going forward, and I really just want to echo the way I closed last week. And if you need anything in the future, please feel free to reach out. I'm at the club usually 5 days a week, and you can reach me cell phone or email at any time. I love to continue to see your progress and help in whatever way I can. I have continuing programs. I have several people at the club, and then just kind of scattered elsewhere throughout the local area, and then throughout the country, really, as I've kind of grown my business. And people are on this golf continuing program, and where I'm from in the Northeast Ohio area, Cleveland area, and then just kind of scattered throughout as I've kind of grown and taught this class over the last three plus years. So if you're looking to just work on a lot of these things and need a structured program, I have one for you if you're interested. Anyways, let's start with your video. And like I told you in class, this is going to be long, so if you need to pause it and grab like a cup of coffee or a water or tea or whatever you drink, and just kind of feel bunkered in here and get ready, because it's going to be a lot of information. Obviously, pause at any moment and make notes, and I'm just going to go into some pretty great detail. It'll probably be north of 10 minutes. That's kind of how the other ones have ran. Anyways, so let's start with just what I really liked about your swing. So let's start with this one. I'm going to move these around a little bit. Let's start with this one here. I'm just going to go kind of left to right here on the screen. All right. And I just want to kind of pause it at different moments. Let's let this play out throughout. So one of the things that I noticed right away, and I noticed right away in classes, you are definitely an anomaly when it comes to some of the other participants that have taken the class. You are what I call hypermobile. You have some really good range of motion, and it's a lot easier to kind of bring that back than it is to gain, if that makes sense. A lot of people are super stiff just from the stressors of the day, the day-to-day, the sitting at the desk, the driving at the car, the poor lifestyle habits. So I just want to commend you, because I think you're doing a really good job just taking care of your body and like the range of motion, because it's showing here in the swing right off the bat. What's my first indicator? Well, just your backswing, your turn. You get really good range. So really good range, getting the club to basically parallel to the ground, and you almost have like too good of internal rotation. And we kind of saw that when you did the internal rotation test. So why is that important, right? Let's kind of revisit this again. What am I looking for? You've heard me talk about this 1,000 times. So apologize if this is getting redundant. But on the takeaway, what are we looking for? We're looking for a shift of weight. So upon address, we're looking for you to shift your weight to your right side. In order to do that, you have to have one side that closes or pushes you, and one side that opens. So the opener is your right side. So what I'm looking for is, does your right foot begin to stiffen? Because that is your anchor point. So your arch is rising because your whole body has to kind of spin off your foot, almost like a top. You have to kind of rotate externally over this anchor point. So your contact point is your foot. That is what's in reference to the ground. And then off of that, you have to spin away. So you're doing a good job of that. Your tibia, your shin bone is spinning away. Your kneecap, I can kind of see it there, spinning away. Femur is spinning away. you're hiding your hip pocket, which is something that I don't think I hit on enough. And that's what I'm looking for in the backswing. Are you rotated enough where I can't see your hip pocket? And you are. And then in order to get over there, like I said, you have to have this left side kind of closing you off or pushing you there. So your left foot has to melt or mold or yield into the ground. Your shin, tibia, has to internally rotate and move towards the midline, towards the ball, which it is. And same thing with your thigh. So these are just like a sequence of events that need to happen in order for you to basically push you, move you to that side. Now, one of the things that I noticed is I think you have some fake range of motion, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's just a good teaching moment for you. Why I say that is because your pelvis or your weight isn't quite shifting as much as I thought it would to the right side. How do I know that? Well, it's because you look at how extended your right leg is. It's almost like hyperextended. So this is almost kind of like pushing you almost in a sense towards the middle. It's like your left side's really trying to drive you left, but you can't accept it on your right side. And honestly, I have your note right here. That is one thing that you actually voiced to me, and we found this on the test. We found that your hip flexion on your right side, so that was when we were lying on your back and you're driving your knee up, that's a measure of external rotation. So we said that your right side was significantly worse than your left side. And actually, I can see that here in the swing because the external rotation would just be kind of like the allowance of your weight transfer. So if you had strong external rotation, it would look something like, let's go to this first golfer here. It would look something like this. Watch her right leg. So as she gets there to where you are, it almost looks like bow-legged. So see how she's like shifting her weight here, and you get that triangle on her left side. And then look at her right leg. It's almost like bow-legged, so it kind of looks like that a little bit. Maybe as we go forward, you can see it. Yeah, see? It's a little flexed or bent. So it's just pushing her. She's being pushed into her right side, and then she's able to accept it with a little bit of a soft knee. That also is going to be a way for her to get into her glute, because the moment you extend the knee fully, you're not getting into the glute. You're actually leveraging your quad. So you're missing out on some yards, and you can see it in this angle too here. You're missing out on some yardage because basically right here at the top of the backswing, your glute's kind of taken out of the equation. And then you almost have to like re-dip or re-bend your knees to find the glute again. And that's kind of why you're losing a little bit of, we'll talk about that later. That's kind of some of the reason why I think you're losing some of the efficiency. We'll talk about that in 1 second here. But so that is why I say fake range, because I think like still you need to work on the external rotation more than the internal rotation. Your internal rotation is great. I almost think we need to like decrease this a little bit because it's almost too good. It almost is a cause for a little bit of concern, in a sense. Not like super concerned, but just like you're almost drifting your knee too far towards the inside, in a sense. That you may potentially have some medial or inside knee pain if we don't kind of address that a little bit through exercise selection, repetition, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But mainly looking for you to improve that external rotation in your backswing. Getting good range there. We're just not leveraging the glute and the hamstring because we're too extended. So keeping this knee bent, almost getting in more of a position like these three golfers. Let me bring this one here. This is, I think this is Lydia Ko. She's got a really nice swing. So this is kind of what I'm looking for. Let's see. I think this is super slow. So let's just play this. So yeah, even she's like a little bit extended too, but not like you can almost see it. There's a little bit of a bend there. And we'll talk about that piece here in a second. So she's got a little bit more of a bent knee position. This golfer here, she's got some good knee flexion. Like I said, that bow-legged shape, that's the external rotation. This is Nelly Korda, #1 golfer in the world. Let's see. Yeah, she's got a low, so she's going. Whoop, sorry. Take away here, backswing. Yeah, just a little bit of a bent knee position. look at how straight yours is. And then, even as she begins to go down, yeah. So, interesting. Maybe Nelly Korda isn't the best example to compare because she kind of looks more like you, which might be a good thing for you because she's the number one golfer in the world. But even she's having some compensation there. But obviously, she's doing a lot of things right. So yeah, something that we need to work on: hip external rotation. You'll find that for homework. Okay, that was one of the first points I wanted to make. I have that here. Take away some of the mobility, hypermobile. And the other thing I noticed too is, as I was playing your swing, is I want you to watch these 3 women and notice what they all do in the transition from backswing to downswing. They all lead with the hips. So notice like they have so much power coming from the hips. So they get into the end range. This is Lydia Ko. She gets into the end range. And notice how she just kind of leads with almost like a shift in weights from right to left. You can see it there. She's in her right side, and then she shifts and almost like kind of, for lack of a better word, pushes into the ground. Like, look at her right foot underneath the cursor here. Watch that as you play this. You can kind of see it. It almost kind of like starts to spin or push. She's pushing into the ground and leveraging her hips to really push herself through. Nelly Korda is a really good example of this here. So notice her hips. Boom. Yep. She starts. Look at her right knee. Watch her right knee. Boom. She's already initiating that from the hips. The hips have already dropped, and she's starting to spin. So here she is. Hips are ahead of the body. Okay. Same thing, hips. Look at the hips kind of lead. Look at that. So much power coming from the hips. There's that bow-leggedness that I was talking about, that external rotation. So when I saw you from this view, what we should expect to see is the hips that are leading. So basically there would be a drop in your center of mass, and the hips should start to turn. You get a really good turn there, except you're just not, but then you're not leveraging that winding. You got such good winding and torque that you can just use that from your hips to shoot you forward. And what you're doing is you're almost like moving as a whole unit or block instead of letting the hips fire. And a great series to help you work on that, basically just any sort of speed or power work, is the medicine ball series that we talked about in week 4 and week 5. So I have like 4 or 5 different exercises. We have a couple of those at the club. They're like 6-pound medicine balls. If you wanted to do it at your house, you can get a medicine ball at Amazon. They're like 6 pounds are the ones that I really recommend. They're like $30. Get the soft ones, the one that we kind of used in class, the yellow one that you can throw against the wall or against the ground. And the biggest thing with these is you need to move fast and you need to move aggressive. So that is kind of the measure of success with those. It's just the speed output. And that over time will help with this transition from backswing to downswing and just getting a lot more power from your hips to kind of carry you forward. Because like I said here, you're just moving as one unit collectively instead of getting here, letting the hips lead the whole body like these golfers, like these women here. Boom, hips go. Hips go. Hips go. And one more time. You just kind of moving all as a unit, okay? Yeah, and part of that is because of this extension, right? You lost the glute because the knee is extended, so I would stay kind of bent, as all these golfers are. They're a little bit more bent in the knee. This one's significantly more bent in the knee. That will allow you to kind of let the hips use their do their thing, and it's basically just carry your weight forward. So that was another big thing I looked at. That's probably one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why you're not maximizing your distance, because your hips aren't really that active, and you're actually using a lot of your upper body to kind of facilitate that. And you could just, you could see that kind of clearly. You initiate the downswing with your arms, so your arms kind of come down. Your hips really aren't that much far in front of your hands, so you don't really have that much of like a power lag, that I would call it. Yeah, and you can just see that there's like not a ton of activity there from the hips. Okay, you'll find that. I'll give you some good ones for homework. And then the last thing, these kind of fall one and the same. Side bend pelvic action. So let me pull this up for you. Let me see if I have it here. So in week 3, we talked about the pelvis. Okay, so watch. This is the Tiger Woods still. Okay, so watch this. What I'm pointing out here is, in this frame, is notice the side bend here. So as he transitions, these two middle frames here specifically, as he transitions from backswing to downswing, there's a side bend. So if we kind of bring you into the equation here and we line you up, so I should be kind of seeing something similar. So you're about kind of in line where Tiger is right there. So notice the difference in his positioning. So first of all, see the knee position. So look at your left knee, look at his left knee. The reason why it looks different is because of the hips. Look at his hip position and look at your hip position. So his are just, you can almost see they're kind of shifting him more towards the left. Yours are still stuck in the lagging leg. So by this point in your swing, I should expect you to see almost that weight transferred left. And like I said before, your hips just aren't engaged enough to have pushed you forward in the swing. And then the reason why he's able to get the side bend is because his hips have carried him forward, and then basically he's using his side abs to basically contract him rapidly to almost anchor him down on the right side to shoot him left, to shoot you left in this case. And so the side abs are basically anchoring him. So he's using that as an anchor point into the ground to anchor his upper body with his lower body. That's what the side abs do. They kind of basically contract and connect you as you're spinning away. So as you're moving from one side to the next. So we would need more activity in your side abs to basically contract you to move you into that left side. You don't really get the side bend at all. And the main reason why is because your hips aren't like really ahead of you in a sense. They're not leveraging their power capabilities to transition you into that left side in this case. I hope that makes sense. If that point doesn't make sense, please let me know. Exercises that would be really good for you would be this one here. That's in the PowerPoint, slide 18 from week 3. This is one where it requires a little bit of balance, and this is just basically you're using your breath to facilitate this movement, and it's just getting you to feel that. It's getting you to feel the side abs working as you rotate. This is another really good one. We did this one in class. The airplane's just operating on one leg, and basically you're shifting your weight into and out of the hip. And then this pelvis side bend. This is kind of what I talked about earlier. That quadratus laborum. That's kind of like, it's almost like a deep muscle in your lower back. That's what's going to allow you to anchor down, to allow your pelvis to bend. And part of the reason why you can't bend is because that muscle isn't developed in a sense, and that could be why you can't get your hips fired through. Is maybe you're not built up in that particular region, and in your lower back and in your side. Okay. And then also a little bit with the speed. So in terms of the hips, one of the things I think you need to work on, I call it like an oscillatory, like some oscillation work or an oscillatory isometric. So you know how we did the lunges, the isometric lunges in class? One of the things that I would prescribe for you, and I will prescribe for you, is ones where you're basically dropping your center of mass quick, holding it for a second, and then coming out of it. Dropping quick, and then coming out of it. And what that's going to allow you to do, and it's going to train your body to drop rapidly into the ground. And the reason why I prescribe that is because we don't really have that rapid drop in the swing. It's almost like sleepy or kind of dormant in a sense. Like I would expect you to kind of have more of a rapid drop there. Your drop's kind of at the very end. It's not at the initial. So if you hit a lot of fat shots, like take a big divot or hit it fat, and you're chunking it, that would be the reason why. There is because of that dip. It happens way too late in the game. And one way you can kind of introduce that is through these fast drops and then hold, fast drop and hold, and I'll throw that in your homework prescription. So I know that was long. Gosh, probably well over 10 minutes. I'm sorry about that, but a lot of good stuff in here. I'll send the email. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out. Here to help. I hope you have a great rest of the week, and we'll talk soon. Okay. Bye, Suzie.